Rome did not just kill its enemies, it made them suffer first, not for minutes, but for hours, sometimes days, because in Rome, death was a release. The goal was to break the body and the spirit long before the heart stopped beating. When a Roman legion defeated you, your fate was sealed by a simple calculation. How much of a threat were you? For the common soldier, a quick death on the battlefield was a mercy, but for a leader, a rebel, or a king who dared defy the eagle, Rome reserved a special kind of cruelty. Your death would become a public lesson, a spectacle of power designed to echo through the ages. It began with the triumph, Rome's ultimate victory celebration. Captured leaders were not just prisoners, they were props in a grand parade of humiliation. Dragged through the streets in chains, they were forced to march behind their own captured wealth and sacred idols, while the Roman crowd screamed insults, celebrating their downfall. This was the pinnacle of Roman glory and the depth of their enemies' despair. Vercingetorix, the great chieftain who united the tribes of Gaul against Julius Caesar, learned this firsthand. After his surrender, he was not granted a warrior's death. He was thrown into the Tullianum, Rome's most notorious prison, a foul, dark pit beneath the city. He was kept alive there for 6 long years, a living trophy waiting for the day of Caesar's triumph. When that day finally came, he was paraded as the main attraction, a ghost of the great leader he once was. And when the cheers faded, he was taken away and quietly strangled in a dark room. His death was not an execution, it was housekeeping, but Rome saved its most visceral punishments for those who rose from within. After the slave rebellion led by Spartacus was crushed, Rome's revenge was biblical in its scale and horror. They did not just kill the thousands of survivors, they crucified them. Over 6,000 crosses lined the Appian Way, the main road into Rome. For miles, travelers would walk a path of agony, a forest of dying men. It was a message written in blood and suffering for all to see. This is the fate of those who challenge Rome. Even kings were not immune. Jugurtha, the king of Numidia who waged a long war against Rome, was betrayed and captured. He too was paraded in chains. But after the triumph, his end was slower, more personal. He was thrown into the watery darkness of the Tullianum. As he was cast down, he was heard to say by Hercules, "How cold your bath is." He was left there to starve, a king dying alone in the dark, a final testament to Rome's chilling patience. For some, even a private execution was too dignified. They were condemned to the beast's damnatio of Bestias. In the arena, before a roaring crowd, they were thrown to starved lions, bears, and leopards. It was the ultimate degradation, denying them not only their life, but their very humanity. This was not mindless savagery. This was a system, a calculated, brutal, and unforgettable machine of terror that kept an empire in line. In the annals of Rome, there are many enemies, but few burned with the righteous fury of Boudica, queen of the Iceni. Her husband, a client king of Rome, died believing he could protect his people by naming the Roman emperor co-heir in his will. He was wrong. Roman officials ignored the will, seized his lands, flogged his queen, and violated his daughters. They thought they were demonstrating power. Instead, they unleashed hell. When Boudica led a rebellion against Rome, she nearly destroyed Roman rule in Britain. Fueled by years of resentment, her army swelled to over 100,000. They descended upon the symbols of Roman oppression: Camulodunum, Londinium, Verulamium. Roman cities were burned to the ground. Their inhabitants, men, women, and children, were slaughtered without mercy. For a brief, bloody moment, the Iceni and their allies paid back every injustice in kind. But when Rome struck back, it did not just win, it crushed everything. The governor, Gaius Suetonius Paulinus, gathered his legions. With just 10,000 men, he faced Boudica's massive horde, but he had what they lacked: discipline, strategy, and a capacity for methodical cruelty. On a field that would forever be stained red, the Roman war machine was unleashed. The Celtic charge, a wave of pure fury, broke against a wall of iron and training. The battle became a massacre. Roman victory was not enough. Vengeance was required. Entire groups were slaughtered, villages destroyed, survivors punished without mercy. Rome did not just quell the rebellion. They sought to erase the very memory of it, to salt the earth with the blood of the vanquished. This was more than war. It was extermination. And for those who defied the empire, this was a common fate. Crucifixion was not just punishment. It was a message. Victims were placed in public spaces, left to suffer, slowly, their bodies becoming warnings to anyone watching. Rome understood something terrifying. Pain spreads fear, and fear keeps empires in control. By making enemies suffer, Rome didn't just win battles, it prevented the next rebellion. So, if you stood against Rome, your fate was never just death. It was humiliation, suffering, and a slow end, designed to be remembered. Because Rome didn't just defeat its enemies, it made sure their suffering would echo long after they were gone. If you want to uncover more hidden stories, where history is darker than you were told, subscribe.